I am Claude Baudoin. I'm an independent consultant in IT strategy and knowledge management, and I've done that for the last 13 years. Before that, I spent many years in a leading worldwide provider of oilfield services. I'm also a long-term participant in the work of the Object Management Group, and I belong to several of the working groups of the Industry IoT Consortium.
Hi, my name is Abhijeet Kelkar. I'm an advisor on building business models and ecosystems, and I have experience working in the energy industry with SCADA systems and relay protection systems for utilities and the energy industry.
Well, energy is in fact not a single industrial sector. It's multiple subsectors. On the one hand, you have the extraction, transportation, and the processing of fossil fuels. And then you have non-fossil fuel-based energy production from nuclear and renewables. And finally, you have the distribution of energy to industrial and residential customers. Each of the subsectors of the energy industry has its own opportunities and challenges for IoT, and they can be quite different.
Yeah, in the energy sector, we are talking about two major changes happening. The first is the change from getting our energy from burning fossil fuels to using renewable energies which does not have any carbon emissions. The second transition we are speaking about is going from a centralized plant which produces 500 megawatts of power to a distributed system which produces in the tens of megawatts or in single digit megawatts. Since the sun and wind are very democratic where it shines and or blows, it can enable households to generate surplus power and feed it to the grid.
Well, the part I know best is called upstream oil and gas. That's the part of the industry that deals with exploration and production. But much of what I'm going to say would also apply to midstream, which is transportation and refining. The impact of IoT here is to make production more efficient, in particular through predictive maintenance of equipment and real-time asset tracking. Oil field production uses a lot of rotating equipment, such as pumps and compressors, both at the surface and inside the oil well. And the traditional way to maintain this equipment was run to failure, which is very disruptive and inefficient. IoT data can be used to feed analytics and machine learning to achieve predictive maintenance.
Yeah. Also, investing in a sunset industry like fossil fuels does not make sense. What it does is using the same infrastructure they have, the same automation and IoT capabilities that you just mentioned to transition to a hydrogen fuel industry or a distributed energy system.
Well, as much as some people would like to say it's a sunset industry to get rid of hydrocarbons, mostly because of the greenhouse gas emission impact, in fact, the last year we have statistics for pre-pandemic, 2019, 84% of all energy consumed in the world came from fossil fuels, oil, gas, and coal. And while there was a small shift over the last couple of years, mostly due to reduced economic activity and remote work, there will probably be a rebound as the economy recovers from this impact. So we are going to probably continue to use oil and gas generated energy for the next 30, 40, or even 50 years, whether we like it or not. And when people say, let the oil and gas industry die, there's no need to spend time applying IoT to it. I think that's a bit misleading. We have to keep doing it, and therefore we had better do it smarter. Well, IoT can certainly have a positive impact on the industry's carbon footprint, at least in terms of the direct emissions from its own operations. That's what's called Scope 1 in the greenhouse gas protocol. For example, the real-time monitoring of operations on oil wells can help reduce the emissions and the damage caused by things such as gas flares, where surplus gas is being burnt, or by leaks. Well, one challenge that is fairly specific to this industry is the availability of a data connection, because many oil and gas wells are in remote locations, including deserts, jungles, and of course, offshore platforms. In some cases, it's even impossible for safety reasons to deploy any electronics next to the well. So in many situations, edge computing can then be part of the solution in order to process the data locally, which means that poor data connections are not necessarily an absolute barrier to IoT adoption.